In several different locations all over the Mountain West, we are putting together an amazing series of events for Independence Week. What makes a man independent? What does it mean to be a man determined to be free? How do you live? What made us different? This is a mortar pestle that was made in the year 1892. And it was given to me by a woman, her last name, Walgreen, Kathy Walgreen. And first time I met her, I said, "Hey, love your drugstore." She said, "Thank you." I said, "Oh." Didn't really know it was really your drugstore. I was being a smart aleck. She sent this to me for my collection and for what will eventually be a new National Archives that David Barton and I are working on doing. But this, if you've ever seen the Walgreens logo, this is the original mortar pestle. And it was made by Mr. Walgreen. He was a carpenter, and he made this himself. And so the first drugs in Walgreens were made on this mortar pestle. What takes a man and makes him willing to be on the beaches of Normandy? This is, and it's still wrapped up, we just are unpacking boxes now, but this is Eisenhower's helmet that was used on D-Day. Paige, would you mind taking this? What makes a man like Leroy Eldridge Cleaver, a man who would rape as many women as he could possibly find in his rage? One of the darkest figures in American history in the 1960s, a guy who made the Panthers look like a Girl Scout. What changed him? What made him change? What made this successful? What made the revolution that we had, the Boston Tea Party? This is an actual block of tea. This is what they threw into the harbor. What made the Tea Party work? What made people say, we shouldn't enslave another man? This is one of my favorite pieces from the Civil War, because everybody always thinks they know the answer. It says, 500,000 more. Dar's a heap of trouble on the old man's mind. Now, who does the monkey represent? Most people will say that that represents a slave, but the exact opposite is true. This card was made by the Confederate. The monkey is not representative of the black man. The monkey is Abraham Lincoln. Anyone who stood on the right side was denigrated and made to look like a monkey. So what was it that changed us? What changed us is this. This is Billy Graham's Bible. And for the first time, let me show you something truly remarkable. I have to be extraordinarily careful. I don't even know if I'm willing. This is the actual red phone from the Fox TV show. Outside of the museum, we have some really cool stuff from our journey together. This is the actual Bible that was brought over. This is very delicate. They don't want to even restore this. Many times they'll restore books like this. Grab a piece of that black cloth. People don't want to restore things like this, or usually they do, because this is in really bad shape. But once you find out what it is, you realize, wow, it's not in that bad of shape. This, thank you. This is the Bible that was brought over on the Mayflower, and if you see, it was printed in 1601 and signed here by William Bradford. This is the original Pilgrim's Bible brought over from over in Europe in the Old World, where they wanted to build a shining city on the hill. This Bible was there when they discussed the shining city on the hill. This is what made us different. Leroy Eldridge Cleaver. Slavery was stopped because of the Bible. This man, when he got out of prison, missionaries knocked on his door and said, excuse me, sir, but would you like to hear about the good news of Jesus? And he let him into their home, and he changed his life. Let me show you a couple of other things. Remember that thought. I'll come back to it in a second. You'll see this is the original prospectus of Disneyland, hand-colored by Walt Disney himself. This is just interesting. This is not in the museum. This is outside. But this shows you how they denigrate people from the very beginning. This was headline news. This was the bus board and the billboards they put everywhere. But you'll notice one thing. This guy's got issues. Immediately, because I'm a conservative, this guy's got issues. And then there's this, which brings me back to what changes a man. When I sobered up and I tried to put my life back together, I didn't look at all of the issues of my life. I wasn't willing to turn over every stone, because it was difficult to do, and I was afraid. And one night I had a dream. I wrote about it in the Christmas sweater. In fact, years later I wrote the Christmas sweater, and that is the storm with Russell, the old man that meets me on the road. That appears to be fiction to a lot of people, but it's not fiction. In the epilogue, I talk about the dream that I had and how I got up in the middle of the night and I painted the storm. This has never been seen before. This just sits in the back of a closet now, but I've saved it to remind me of where I was. When I wrote in the Christmas sweater that I got up and I kept putting the bristles into this part to try to make it blacker, to try to make that cloud come alive. I couldn't get it black enough. This is what I painted at 3 o'clock just to remember that dream, which I never forgot, because I believe it was an inspired dream. I know who the old man was that met me on the road. And he told me, the storms of your life are not to be avoided. And no matter how black and scary they look, they're not to be feared. On the other side, it's green and warm. It changed my life. And it changed my life just the same way it has changed our country. And unless we face our storms, admit our sins, admit our mistakes as a country and our transgressions, and come back to the original foundation, we do not survive. The good news is, it's not that hard to do. We just have to have somebody tell it to us. That's what we're trying to do this week, and that's what we hope everybody who walks through this museum will do to everybody else they meet.